Started. Okay guys, so another day here. It is August 2nd, another Monday for the journal. Just look at the top 20 real quick here. Bitcoin up, Ethereum up, Tether neutral down, but it's dollar equivalency. Binance Coin up, everything seems to be up. Top 10, top 20 Uniswap, Litecoin, Solana, Bitcoin, Polygon, Ethereum Classic, which is interesting. Doge still doing okay. Shiba Inu way down here, I believe. Yeah, there it is, 39th. Everything is up, mostly because Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing extremely well. A lot of exciting news. Just in general, everything is green across the board. This is a different visual representation of what we just looked at. I was looking at CoinGecko, for anybody who was wondering. And then over here, we're looking at the past few days of Bitcoin movement. We basically had, what, 10 days? Let's just look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 days of movement up in Bitcoin this past week or so, and now we've had a couple days of relaxation of the price, which is pretty normal. I mean, looking at some other experts, analysts, and YouTubers, you know, basically the price, it's normal for the price to go down after just been going up for a long time. And with some other people, you know, with other people who have way better TA than I have, if the price just kind of trails down slowly over time, it's probably going to go up. Some people would call this a form of a bull flag, because when it just kind of slowly goes down like this. This is an accumulation phase. So there we go. And essentially right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum are playing off of each other in various ways, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. So on to the actual news and what I think about what's going on right now. Alright guys, so like I was saying, here's the price of Bitcoin. A lot of interesting things are happening right now. In just a couple days here, the Ethereum hard fork, the London hard fork, will be going live. And when that happens, they're going to introduce scarcity into Ethereum. And I believe later this year in December, they're going to introduce the mining bomb, which will make it so that proof of stake will reign when it comes to Ethereum. So the bottom line is that they're going to try to make Ethereum scarce. And in order to do that, whenever you transfer Ethereum to another exchange or your friend, the fee that is normally used to pay the miners will be burned instead, creating a deflationary environment. So how much will this supply shock affect Ethereum? We shall see. Let's go and look at Ethereum a little bit more closely right now. ETH USD. I'm not a trader, so I like to measure against the dollar. There we go. So ETH has been doing all right the past, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. $14 days. Now there's a little bit of red here every once in a while. What I think is happening, personally, this is just me. This is the run up into the patch that's coming up, I believe, on August 5th or 7th. My timing's off. I could look that up. This is an eagle Google search, so it's not a big deal. And so everybody's getting ready for the patch. Now the question is, when the patch hits, will they sell the news, or will the price continue to go up because supply shock will hit? That's the real question here. Again, I'm not a trader. I don't plan to swing trade this. I'm just holding Ethereum. Same thing with Bitcoin. I'm just holding Bitcoin. And there's a reason I do that. We'll go into that again just a little bit here. So Ethereum's looking pretty cool. And basically, yeah, that's the big worry right now. Is like, will larger factions sell the news and that sort of thing, or will it continue to go up? That's the big question. It's kind of 50-50 there. It just depends on what's going on. That's one reason I think that the price of Bitcoin is going down slightly. Also, we've had a run, so it's kind of like Bitcoin's cooling off. We have an Ethereum patch that's about to hit, so I think it's kind of doing this a little bit right now as far as the Bitcoin and Ethereum prices right now. For the next few days, for me personally, my Ethereum holdings have gone up just a little bit, and I just want to see what happens. Other than that, I haven't really been moving too much around or trading. My world's not being rocked by any of this. To me, Bitcoin's just in a massive accumulation phase, and that's just where I'm at until we hit all-time highs again, which most likely will probably happen just because, again, I think that most of this accumulation phase was caused through just manipulation. But that's just my opinion, so who knows. Now, why do I not trade? I've been doing these episodes for a little while, taking a couple breaks here and there, especially during this bull run. And the thing is that the base reason for all of this is that the value of the dollar has just gone down since the mid-1930s. Here's just one version of a chart that you can find on a few parts of the internet. This is just the value of dollar compared to anything that's kind of stayed the same. So like that might be gold, that might be whatever. So for example, you may have heard of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which happened at the end of World War II. And the Bretton Woods Agreement was the agreement that the dollar would be the world's reserve currency based on gold, right? So we had kind of a quasi-gold standard until the early 1970s with Nixon, when he brought us off of the gold standard. And this allowed us just more flexibility at the time. The unfortunate thing is we decoupled the value away from the dollar, and that's why you'll hear fiat money, which means fake money, because our dollar isn't backed by anything. However, people would say, well, it's backed by our military, it's backed by oil, it's backed by yada yada yada. The problem is that all of these things can be fleeting, especially if you have like bad leadership, whatever that means for you, or something like that. So with Bitcoin, and not just Bitcoin, with like stocks, with housing, with anything that actually has like solid value, because the dollar is going down, their prices rise. It's not even because they're like ran by geniuses or they're like just stellar assets or something like that. It's just that the dollar is losing value. In fact, I believe over 1 year it lost something like 22%. Some people say 19, some people say a little more, some people say a little bit less. It's lost so much value since I was a child. According to this chart, when I was born, it was about it was at a 90% drawdown from the complete high here. So if we've lost 10% since about the time I was born, that's a massive amount of value lost in the dollar price and our purchasing power. So if you just held your money in dollars for the past year, you've lost about 20% of your value, your purchasing power. If you held it in Bitcoin, if you held it in housing, if you held it in anything else, then you probably gained money on par with what the dollar went down, which is intense. So that's why I tend to invest in cryptocurrency. On paper, for me, assuming a comet doesn't hit the planet, I think is the best place to store my value. And I think that it's my opinion, to hold cash right now, unless you're doing it to transition into something else, is just dumb. Just completely dumb. But we'll see. But you know what? We all have different situations out there. We all have to do what we have to do. And especially during COVID, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, here's a chart comparing the various assets. So we have traits of money. It's a fungible. Fungible again. I love how they put it. Interchangeable. That's all that means. So gold, yeah. Fiat, yeah. Dollar. Bitcoin, yes. Non-consumable. Can you like eat gold or use it? It's gold. Fiat, yeah, you're not going to eat it. Crypto, you're not going to eat it. Portability, gold's heavy. If you have like a little bit of gold, even like a flake, it's considerably heavy. It is what it is. Dollars, yeah. Crypto, okay. Paper is a little bit heavier than air, but durable. Yeah, gold can survive unless it's in the core of the earth. It's probably going to survive. Fiat, you can burn money. It can be destroyed. All that kind of stuff. Crypto. Yeah, very durable. It's as long as you have your private keys, it's not going anywhere. Is it divisible? Yeah, crypto's divisible through what, like 10 decimal points or something like that? I forget. Highly divisible. Yeah, you can go to the penny when it comes to the dollar. Gold, you can chip it into flakes. Secure. Gold, there's alchemy. People can try to fake gold with lead and things like that. The dollar, you know, back in the day, the Secret Service would go after people who were like artists, and they would actually go to bars and try to cash dollars that they had like drawn at home, like in really high detail. One guy was caught only because like beer spilled on the dollar, and like it, yeah, it's just really funny story. There's some funny counterfeiting stories. There was one guy who kept a chart of where he went to counterfeit the U.S. dollar, and he only used a $1 bill and never had any business out more than $1. Until one day he was caught, and basically the judge went, okay, we're going to give you, you know, let's say 2 weeks to a month of community service and a fine of $1. Easily transactable. Gold, again, you have to bring it to the spot. You have to figure out what the value is based on the weight. You have to shave it off. Like, gold is intense when it comes to using it. It's an old school form of money, right? Dollars, good. Crypto, good. Scarce. Gold is scarce. The problem with gold is that we don't know how much there is. There's no cap. And that's why we don't know what the supply is. And because of that, it can waver. It can be manipulated. You know, the dollar, they just print it all day long, especially these days. It's been printed since around the time of the housing crisis in 2007, 8, 9. Scarce, yeah, there are only 21 million Bitcoin. Ethereum's about to introduce scarcity. A lot of the blockchains do have scarcity, and we'll talk a little bit about that and why some of them don't. Sovereign, it is now official tender in El Salvador. There we go. That's a country. Money is owned by the country that it's produced by, and gold is not. Decentralized? No. Yeah, Bitcoin is decentralized. You would have to destroy every single miner and every single computer in one fell swoop to get rid of the blockchain, which is extremely difficult. I think it was in the hundreds of billions at this point to do that. Is it smart? Yes, it is. Gold is not. The dollar is not. And so these are all just the base comparisons, cryptocurrency to other assets. But also, this is why people say that Bitcoin is the hardest money out there, is because it has all of these attributes. And the only thing it doesn't have is acceptance by all countries at the moment. That's what the big fight is when you hear people speak about it in Congress and things like that. That's what they're arguing about. Taxes, regulation, all that kind of stuff. Whether it should be legal tender is all being talked about right now. It's the fight in the mud that I occasionally refer to. Yeah, there are blockchains that don't have any of this. So, like, for example, Dogecoin, that has inflation. So Dogecoin is constantly losing value. Along with Shiba Inu, same thing. I believe that Shiba Inu also has inflation, which means that its price is consistently going down, no matter what. That's why people who've been in the space for a while consider Dogecoin like a novelty, a funny money, like a silly coin. A meme coin, if you will. And so, like, it's fun to have, and because Bitcoin and Ethereum and the top large cap coins are going up, it'll probably retain value on the coattails of Bitcoin, but it doesn't have the cap. You don't know how much there will ever really be, other than there's some inflation that happens. So that's the main thing. So essentially, again, the reason why I'm explaining all this is that I believe that I like to study the fundamentals of what I do. I mean, even if we apply this to stocks, the reason why, to me, that a lot of this isn't, for example, a gamble, is because stocks have a history of going up. If you zoom out on the stock market, the price goes up. It has gone up since its inception. And even after, like, Black Friday in 1929, the stock market recovered relatively soon after that and then kept going up. And part of that has to do with the dollar going down. Part of that has to do with, you know, our population as a country and the world has gone up. As long as our productivity goes up, the stock market will always go up. It's not a gamble. Now, if you speculate, if you trade, if you do all those sort of things, unless you have a lot of good information, you're very solid in your analysis skills, it becomes more of a gamble. Especially if you bet on margin or if you use leverage or something like that. So I don't do that. I consider myself an investor because I am holding. I am holding for a long period of time, 5 to 10 years or more. And with very little movement, very little bit of cashing. I'll cash out a little bit here and there, you know. but I'm just accruing more of it over time and doing what I can. And I watch a lot of podcasts. So Willy Woo was talking about how people who are shrimps, so those are people with like less than a Bitcoin, have been accumulating during this accumulation phase, and they are part of the push that is forcing the price up. So the trend is, looking at the data and again various podcasts that I've listened to, is that a lot of the people who sold again were the new people who got scared, and all of that money has gone to people like me. It has gone to shrimps. It has gone to whales. And this is why emotion and ego in this space do not work, because it's all about just data. The fundamentals are that Bitcoin is one of the hardest assets ever made, if not the hardest asset ever made in the world. And that's its value proposition, along with its network. And as long as that is true, then I am comfortable keeping a large amount of cash, or my resources, to me anyway, in there. And that holds true for stocks, that holds true for property, that holds true for anything, as opposed to the dollar, which is slowly losing value. Now when it comes to like technical analysis, things like that, yeah, you can sit there and break it down, say, oh yeah, there's such a thing called the golden section, and you can combine that with the Fibonacci sequence, and all that is that and I'm being extremely vague, I know more about this than I'm letting on. So like the 2/3 mark is a natural pattern in nature. So for example, is there a fib here? I'm not sure. Oh well, I should look that up beforehand. What you can do is you can make a Fibonacci chart that goes up like this, and you try to look for the pattern. So let's say I was making one like from here to here, right, on this chart. So the Fibonacci would be about the 2/3 mark, so it'd be right around there. The other thing you could do is you can make one from, like, for example, the top to the bottom here. So here's a way to look at it, okay? So I'm drawing a line from this peak to this trough, right, in the oscillation of this line. So right here, in the center of this line, is the 2/3 mark. That is the golden section of that line, essentially, going down. So if I were to draw have a fib chart, one of the Fibonacci lines would probably hover right around there. And for some reason, whether it be the distance from your pupil to the edge of your eye, or whether it be in numbers for investing, the Fibonacci sequence and or the golden section, remember the golden section is inside a Fibonacci sequence, they tend to occur in nature. And so a lot of traders tend to use it. You can trade based on patterns like that. Some people do. I don't like to trade because, I'm quoting a movie, but the line may have come from somewhere else. To gamble is to win. I only like to do things like that if I know exactly what's going on. Years ago, when Bitcoin Cash made a run on Bitcoin, this was late 2017 in the fall, I believe, Bitcoin Cash made a deal with Bitmain to have them mine more Bitcoin Cash than Bitcoin, or kind of equal it out. And so for one night, Bitcoin Cash did this, basically. And it kind of did that a couple more times. I was clued in because I got information somehow that it may happen. And so in one night I went, oh, and I made about 1/3 of a Bitcoin in one night from nothing. That was pretty cool, right? But that's rare. And it was like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. And I was skeptical and all that kind of stuff, right? And so there are people who have the inside track and on this information, and they trade based upon that, especially if you have large amounts of cash flow, right? You have the total advantage, and it's like a step away from insider trading, right? But it is what it is. I don't have that kind of information. I don't trust my gut when it comes to things like that. I think I'll get emotional. So what I'd rather do is invest. And it's been proven over time that dollar cost averaging into cryptocurrency and anything, stocks, property, whatever, is the best way to go regardless of the market, because no matter what you do, if you dollar cost average, you are buying low and selling high, essentially, by just dollar cost averaging. And that's what I believe in doing. That's why I do that. And it has worked out immensely, especially this past year. In my opinion, when it comes to Bitcoin, the time to have made drastic moves was in 2020. We have one basic thing in Bitcoin, which is the halving. And the halving happens every 4 years. It's very easy to get right. The halving happens, and in a few months later, we have supply shock, and the price goes up, and that's exactly what happened. So the time to really make your move was any time between like March and July. Now this is hindsight, but we all knew when the halving was going to happen. And ask anybody that knows me, they told me to shut up. They were like, okay, so the halving. There was one person at my work who was like, oh, Bitcoin went down. And I was like, it's $9,000. Now this is up from like, $3,000 or so dollars. This is a year or so ago. And I was like, it's $9,000. Put $5 in, see what happens. Right? And then we had the halving, and then it shot up to 64 grand. And now here we are at an accumulation phase around, the high 30s, low 40s. It is what it is. It's not a big deal. Everybody's entitled to do what they want with their hard-earned money and their time. It is what it is. And I won't judge you for it. Again, everybody has their own issues, their own situations, but it is what it is. And we have another halving coming up in 2024. We're approaching the half point of our halving cycle time. So, depending on what happens, it really depends on what happens this next year, what I will do. I have some points that I may take some cash off the table, but we haven't hit those points yet, so it's not a big deal. And we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, and that's again why Ethereum is important, because Ethereum's fundamentals are about to change as they introduce scarcity. And introducing scarcity, as we've seen, tends to have some pretty interesting results. Very simple TA, very simple analysis, fundamentals. No drama. I'm not worried about FUD, I'm not worried about stories. The only thing I'm worried about, are they going to hack the protocol? Is there a double spend? Have they figured out a way to take out every node of the Bitcoin network? Anything like that. And when it comes to certain concerns like that, Andreas Antonopoulos said, if they manage, for example, to get a quantum computer that can solve, that can hack into Bitcoin, they're just going to make it resistant to that. Quantum computers require a specific, whatever they do has to be specifically aligned to their task. So if you just change the task even slightly, it cannot complete the task. But whatever it can do it quickly. But they have to make it specifically for that task. So they would just try to make, some type of revolving door mechanism in the code to make it so that it couldn't do the task. So it's, in that way, it's kind of an arms race, and also the resources required to make a computer that will do that would probably be public, and it would be watched for. So, and if a major country did it, again, this is a quoting Andreas Antonopoulos, if a major country had a weapon that could take down the Bitcoin, they would have one shot to do it. And if Bitcoin survived, it would just become stronger. So, anyway, my personal thought is that owning Bitcoin is a fight in the mud, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, that's all I really have to say for today. I'm just sitting here enjoying my life, enjoying my time, and biding my time. Time is on our side. As long as Bitcoin keeps doing what it's doing, it's going to be all right. Ethereum's looking pretty good. They stopped playing games about half a year to a year ago, and that's why they're rocketing up. Some of the blockchains are looking good as well. So we'll see what happens. Oh, hey, what's up? Hey, Nightwalker, good to see you, man. I just noticed your chat, sorry. But, yeah, other than that, guys, you have a good one, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.